Hey guys and girls, how's it going? Hope you guys are having a great week and had a wonderful Christmas and New Year. 2016 is officially over, guys, so it is time to reflect on the past 12 months. Now, last year had many highs and lows in both life and gaming, so it's time to talk about those. So this first video is going to be my top 10 games of last year. Now, bear in mind, this is my own video, so it's based on the games that I played, my thoughts, my opinions on there. You guys might disagree or might have different opinions, and that is totally cool, but these are the best games that I played last year, starting with number 10, Quantum Break. This Xbox exclusive from Remedy Entertainment came out on April the 5th, and it is in my top 10 simply because I enjoyed this game so much. Now, if you didn't get a chance to play this game, I highly recommend it. The gameplay is heaps of fun, the story is really interesting, and if you like time travel, you will really enjoy the elements of that within the game, and it was really interesting. I thought the two main actors, Sean Ashmore and Aidan Gillen, did a great job with the main protagonist and the main villain. In fact, I thought Aidan stole the show in the game, and his performance was really fantastic. But it is number 10 on my list. It just made it. It was really a close call between Quantum Break and Far Cry Primal, an equally great game, but I enjoyed Quantum Break that much more. And it was the game that I was super hyped for on the Xbox One. I don't think the Xbox has had many good exclusives this year, but this was one of them. But it is number 10. It's not any higher on my list simply because I felt that the game was too short, and I would have liked the story to have been a lot longer. As well, I thought the attempt that they made to interweave the main game and the episodic videos that you could watch at the end of each part wasn't handled right. It really took you out of the game, and even the decisions that you made, the videos focused too much on the less known characters, on the NPCs, and it would have been cooler to actually see more of the main characters within the video episodes, so that they feel like a continuation rather than something that's separate. So I don't feel that Remedy handled that well, but it was a good try on their part, and it was something new and different that we had never seen before, so hats off for that. So yeah, Quantum Break is in at number 10. Number 9.
We are justice.
We are compassion.
We are determination.
We are harmony.
We are Overwatch.
Overwatch. Now, I have enjoyed this game. I actually bought it recently because I got it in the January sale in sort of the December holidays, and it was quite cheap. It was like £20, so I thought, okay, I'm gonna pick it up and have a go at it, and I have really enjoyed it. Now, this game actually came out way back in May 23rd, and obviously I'm sure you all know it was produced by Blizzard, and it's a fun game, don't get me wrong. The characters are fantastic. They're all very different, very unique, have brilliant powers and abilities, and it's really cool to sort of explore each of them and the differences. The multiplayer itself as well is a lot of fun to play, and I love the whole co-op nature of it. I love the fact that it encourages you to play as the different classes so that you're supporting your team. You know, and if you choose to play as a medic, you're not punished for it, you're actually rewarded for it. So I really liked that, and every time I've picked up Overwatch and jumped in, I've had a blast. I love the little short games that you can have. It makes it very easy to jump in and out of. But I do think that it has been a heavily overhyped game this year, and I don't think it deserves the acclaim that it has received. I certainly don't think that it deserves Game of the Year, and simply for the fact that while it's a fun game and the characters are interesting, when the game was released, it was heavily lacking in content. There's no main story of which to speak of. If you're wanting to learn more about the main characters, you really have to go and explore like the comics and the lore outside of the game as well. There weren't that many maps or game modes, and yeah, Blizzard have improved on that throughout the year, obviously, with the updates and the new characters they've introduced, but it's just it isn't value for money, in my opinion, and it's just another demonstration of the terrible practices that many producers have used in terms of charging us full £50-60 for half a game. So for that exact reason, it's not up on high on my list. I just don't think it's worth that top spot. And you know, if it's your game of the year, that's fine. That is your opinion. That's totally cool. But for me, it's a fun game, and I have enjoyed it when I've played it, but it's completely overhyped in my opinion. Number 8, Firewatch. This was a game that came out early in the year. It's an indie game from Campo Santo, and it came out on February 9th. And this one was one that really took me by surprise. I was not expecting the reaction that I had. Now, for those of you that don't know, it's a very short game, only about 4 hours long, and in it you play as the main character Henry, who is a fire warden. Now, suffice it to say, Henry's having a hard time of it, hard life. He's got a lot of problems going on, and he basically goes out, becomes a fire warden, and goes out into the countryside to get away from things and to be sort of isolated. And the whole game is really interestingly done, and it's really interestingly directed. Now, your only contact throughout the game is your supporter, somebody called Delilah, and throughout the game as you're playing it, you discover a little bit more about both of these characters, and you can react to Delilah and follow certain conversation trees and sort of direct their relationship however you will. As well, underneath it all as well, there is a mystery, a thriller that takes place as well, and that's also really exciting to explore. I wasn't expecting the reaction I had for Firewatch. I thought, I'm just going to jump in, it'll be fun. But I actually found myself getting lost in the game and getting lost in the story. And this game, on reflection, you know, you find yourself coming away from it and actually thinking about the events and what happened and your character. And for me, when you can get lost in a game, that is when you know a game is good, when you get completely lost in it, that everything else around you just sort of fades out and you're just there in the moment and enjoying the story. So Firewatch for me was number 8 on my list, and I heavily enjoyed playing it, and I highly recommend it. If you haven't picked it up, definitely have a go. It's a great game. Number 7.
We gotta get these hackers somewhere safe.
They aren't hackers, Devin. They're just script kiddies.
Hey, the car answered.
This ain't your mama's smart car. I think next time we're gonna need a higher firewall, pal.
Cyber Driver.
Action hero, badass. Talking car. Admit it, Josh. The car is cool.
Watch Dogs 2. So this came out quite recently on November 15th from Ubisoft Montreal. Now, there was a lot of expectation and trepidation when it came to Watch Dogs 2. Now, the original Watch Dogs game for me was a massive disappointment. I really didn't like the main character of Aiden Pierce. And I decided to pick this game up after sort of reading some of the reviews on it, and most of what I was hearing was quite positive, and I have to agree. I think that Ubisoft have improved on the original Watch Dogs. I found the main character, Marcus Holloway, much more likable than Aiden Pierce. The new gameplay, the new sort of drone, and the portable sort of little bot that you can drive around as well, that they were really nice additions to the game. You can basically hack anything in this game. The world of San Francisco as well, the environment that you were in was much more interesting than the darker sort of Chicago setting that we had in the original. It's chock full of things to do. There's so much gameplay value in this game, and I love the fact that the overarching overarching sort of feeling in the game. It's much more light-hearted, you know, down to Marcus Holloway, who's a much lighter, funnier sort of character. As well, his companions like Wrench are very funny, and it just had a very, very different vibe to it. Which was fun. You know, the game didn't take itself too seriously, and I really liked that. And there were some moments in the game that just made me laugh out loud. There were some moments where the game just broke the fourth wall and kind of laughed at itself, and Ubisoft sort of laughed at itself and its previous blunders, and I really like that. You know, I thought that was really great to see, and you know, I've got to give them credit for that, definitely. But it is number 7 on my list simply because while it's a move in the right direction, for me there wasn't enough character development, and the main story missions for me just felt too choppy. They felt like, you know, different missions where you're trying to take down this big organization called Bloom. And it just didn't feel like there was much character development. We didn't really know much about Marcus's background or, you know, Sitara's background. We didn't know anything about them, where they came from, what their motivations are. We didn't see much character progression throughout the game. We got a little bit, but not as much as I would have liked. And really, what I think this shows for me is Ubisoft are focusing too much on open world games. You know, for them, every game that Ubisoft does now has to be open world, and that's fine, but I think in making all those open worlds, they've kind of lost their ability to write good characters and good stories and take the time to progress those characters and have, you know, real character development. I think the last game I played that Ubisoft made that had that for me, that ticked all the boxes, was probably the Assassin's Creed saga covering Ezio's story, which, you know, were fantastic. And I just think that Ubisoft are losing that. They're losing that ability to tell good games and have good characters and develop them. You know, they're just getting lost in this whole open world craze, which, you know, I'm not a huge fan of. I much prefer, for me, it's all about the story, and it's always been about the story. For me, that is why I play games, to get involved in that and get lost in that. So those are my general thoughts on Watch Dogs 2. Number 6.
You were not invited to Kane's party, and that's why you're dead. Well, another runaway hero with an SRS Vanguard class Titan. Woo! Now we're talking. Bringing a knife to a knife fight.
Titanfall 2. This came out on October 28th by Respawn, and finally this game was available cross-platform, so it was available on Xbox One, PlayStation 4 and PC. About time. And I have to say that this game was so good, and Respawn really have improved on so many things that they got wrong in the original. You know, now we have a fantastic single player campaign, which was really interesting. The relationship between the pilot and the Titan was developed really well. I thought it was going to come across as cheesy, but it didn't, surprisingly. But some of the level designs in the single player and the boss fights, and God, some of the levels were absolutely fantastic. There was this one level involving like this sort of time travel type thing. Oh, it was brilliant. If you haven't played Titanfall 2, or you've been playing nothing but the multiplayer, go in and jump into the single player, because it's a fantastic campaign. And then once you've done the single player, go in and jump into the multiplayer, because the multiplayer is also excellent. And again, they've heavily improved on things. There's more Titans, there's more maps, game modes. The maps are huge, the movement is great. I really like all the new Titans and new additions, and I really like the fact that they're focusing on, you know, each Titan is unique and has different powers, and I really like that. Customization is in there now, which is another great addition. So it just seems like Respawn really listened to the fans of the original game and really took the time to improve on all those things. And I think it's kind of sad that Titanfall 2 hasn't got the attention it deserved, and its sales have not been as good as the original. Its sales have actually been down. I think I read somewhere statistically that like its sales were down like 40% or something in the first week that the game was released, and I think that is a crying shame, because it is a much better game than the original, and it definitely deserves more credit, and it definitely deserves better sales as a result of that. But yeah, Titanfall 2, number 6, a fantastic game. Number 5. Oh my god. My friends are down there. Final Fantasy 15. Now, I know many of you are going to be surprised that this game is not higher on my list, and there are reasons for that. Now, let me talk about what I loved about the game. Now, if you don't know, this is by Square Enix, and it came out on November 29th. I don't know how you wouldn't know that unless you've been living under a rock, but anyway, what I loved about it, the game is beautiful. It is a beautiful game. Fantastic. It's gorgeous. The open world is wonderful. The exploration was good, particularly chocobo riding. Oh my god, if I could just spend the entire game on the back of a chocobo, I happily would. The new combat was fun. I actually really enjoyed it. I like the different sort of abilities that you had and the mixing of like combat and magic, and it works, you know, quite nicely, and it's a good indication of what the Final Fantasy VII remake is going to be, and I can work with it because I definitely like that. And there were some moments in the game that were just epic, especially like there were some moments particularly to do with the summons and Leviathan and Titan that were just so awesome and just so amazing, and the cinematography, the music in that moment, the gameplay, everything just worked perfectly. So there were moments where this game was fantastic. And I know it's a good game. I loved it, really enjoyed playing it. But there were some moments that were annoying for me, and there were little niggly things that kind of got on my nerves a little bit, and that's why it's not higher on my list. And those things there's a couple, but for one thing, the fact that you know, when you're traversing around the world in the car and it's on rails, and it's really boring like way of traveling around the world. It's great that you can listen to the different sort of Final Fantasy soundtracks, but I literally would go set my destination and I'm not kidding you guys, I would literally walk downstairs, make myself a cup of tea, come back upstairs, and then I would be at my destination. So it just sort of took you out of it, and I just found myself fast traveling to everywhere, or jumping on the back of a chocobo if I could, or running, you know, depending on how far the distance was. I didn't like the car at all, and I didn't think that was used very well in the game at all. The other thing as well I didn't like was the side missions for me. While some of them were interesting, and I did like the monster hunting element to it, a lot of the side missions for me were just really unimaginative and really repetitive. You know, they were basically fetch quests. You know, go and fetch me this gem, go and get me this, go and get this, and then you go back to the person, get your reward, and then do it again, and then do it maybe 8 or 9 or 10 times. And the side missions just became so unimaginative. I couldn't find myself enjoying them, and it felt like a grind simply to level, and side quests really shouldn't feel like that anymore, especially in the age of gaming that we are in now. And again, The Witcher 3, it's just spoiled me for any RPGs in the future. So I really hope Andromeda is going to have good side missions and good main story. I think they will, but everything now I just compare to The Witcher 3. I think it's just destroyed my ability to like other RPGs. But yeah, side missions are repetitive. And the last thing I had as well was the story felt very choppy in places, particularly in terms of the editing and the character development. There were some characters that things would happen off camera or off screen, and you never got to see it, and you know, you didn't get to learn anything about some of the main villains or some of the side characters, and you know, that's a crying shame. Again, with our main character, our main protagonist Noctis, you know, you didn't get to learn anything about their backstory, and really, if you wanted more, you needed to go away and watch the anime or go away and watch the movie, and it just you shouldn't have to do that in a game. So it just felt like that the story was very choppy. Maybe it had been rushed, maybe they weren't quite sure where they wanted the story to go. It had its epic moments, but then in other moments there were just glaring gaps there, and things happened and things were sort of written not the way I would have done it, you know. So those things just kind of bugged me, and I didn't generally find the main character Noctis that likable as a main character, and again, I didn't find the different characters that memorable, you know, when we compare them to other characters in the Final Fantasy series. I mean, heck, I actually preferred the characters in Final Fantasy 13. You know, I preferred Light, Snow, Hope, Fang. You know, I preferred them all. So, and I thought they were better written in Final Fantasy 13 compared to 15. So, you know, those are my general thoughts on it. It's weird. It's like a game that I love, but also it has elements I don't like as well. It's so strange. It really is. But it definitely deserved a place on my top 10 games of 2016, and it came in at number 5. Right, now we're getting into the top 4 games, guys. So at number 4,
I yield! Please, don't hurt me!
Tell us what you, hang on.
Tell us what you know about Drek's plan.
Whoa. Thanks. Yeah, what did he say?
Ratchet and Clank. Now, I think this game has not got the praise nor the attention that it has deserved. This game was made by Insomniac Games, and it came out on April 12th, and it was a PlayStation exclusive, and it was fantastic. It was so much fun. Now, if you have never played a Ratchet and Clank game before, go ahead and jump in on this game, because it was so much fun. It was just so faithful to the original games, and it just recreated it and updated it in such a fantastic way. The main characters of Ratchet and Clank are just so well written, so likable. The animation was brilliant, music was fantastic. God, the story, the script was hilarious. Dante and I played this together, and we just had such a blast playing it, and we just laughed so many times, and there were just so many little references and fourth wall breaking, and just the comedy was just gold. And then some of the levels were a lot of fun too. The platforming elements of it were great. The boss fights were great. There just really wasn't anything I didn't like about it. It was just a game that I heavily enjoyed playing from start to finish, and I'm very excited to see where Ratchet and Clank is going to go from here. I do hope that they bring out, you know, a sequel. I hope that Insomniac Games continue to develop it, because they did such a great job with it. And if you haven't played it, it's on the January sale on the PlayStation Network. It's heavily worth buying, because it's such a good game. All right, this is the top 3. Now, the top 3 games really are quite interchangeable. They could have gone any way between these 3, but in at number 3 is Battlefield 1. Now, this game was actually bought for me by one of my subscribers, and I just want to say again a massive thank you to Cypher for buying me this game and sending it to me. I loved this game. Now, if you don't know, it was made by Dice, and it came out on October the 21st, and it was just heaps of fun to play. It was brilliant. The fact that DICE decided to make the decision to go back in history, while other first-person shooters in that genre are going forward into the future and coming up with these, advanced technology and jetpacks and going into space and everything. It took a lot of balls for DICE to go, no, we're going to go back. We're going to go back to World War One as their setting. And I thought that was really gutsy of them. And I thought it paid off dividends. This game is fantastic. Visually, it's stunning. The recreation of World War One is extremely good as well. It is extremely authentic. Now, you might not know this, but I actually majored in history at university. So I've got a fair bit of knowledge on the First World War, especially coming from the UK. We're taught about World War One all the way through high school. So I have to say that the recreation of World War One was fantastic. The story was lots of fun to play. I like the fact that you got to see the different sides of the war, and I think you played as like 5, was it 5 or 6? I think it was 6. You played as 6 main sort of different characters at different stages in the war. Obviously the choice for that was so that you could see the different divisions, and also you could experience different kinds of gameplay, and the story was tons of fun. I really enjoyed it. It was a good level of challenge and entertainment, and was excellent. The multiplayer as well is fantastic, and what I like about Battlefield's multiplayer as well is it's very different to Call of Duty. You know, Call of Duty's multiplayer is kind of selfish. You know, everybody's out for themselves. Nobody really works in a team. Everybody just wants to get that you know, kill death ratio, get those kill streaks, get those bonuses, and I like the fact that Battlefield 1 isn't about that. You know, it's the war, so it's about working in a team, it's about working in a battalion, working down objectives, and the maps are fantastic. You know, they're huge, they're so big, and there's so many options when you're playing it as well. And obviously you're playing in huge companies of like 64 player, I think it is, but you can actually play with your friends in smaller battalions as part of that, and you can actually shout out objectives to each other, and you get bonuses if you achieve those objectives. Battlefield 1, guys, is a fantastic game, and it's heavily worth a buy, and it's heavily worth a play. So that came in at number 3 for me. Right, down to the top 2 games. Now, both these games this year I loved. I had a blast playing them. And it was really difficult to decide which was going to be my number 2 and which was going to be my number 1. It kept going back and forth, as I was writing my sort of pros and cons of each. But in at number 2 is... There we go, that should work. Go. Got it. Oh man, that was fucking badass. Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Now this was by Eidos Montreal, and it came out on August 23rd, and this game was fantastic. It's the 3rd game in the series, focusing on Adam Jensen, on his story, and it just did justice to Adam Jensen's story, and it just continued on the story in such a good way. The visual style of it was stunning. Just the level design was fantastic. The new abilities that Adam Jensen had, your ability to sort of decide how you want to approach different levels and different missions, you know, going stealth, going in a lethal manner. It was fantastic. There was just so much choice in this game that just heavily lends itself to lots of replayability, and it was wonderful. You know, it was really good, and I love playing it. I've done a full let's play for it, which I'll pop a link to in the comment section below if you ever, you know, sort of want to go check it out. But fantastic game, really good, and it was just such a great continuation of the story, and I love the world. I love the whole idea of, you know, technology and mankind and finding that balance, and yeah, I love the whole idea of the augmented sort of apartheid. It was fabulous. Such a good game. It really was, and I'm really excited to find out what's going to happen in... I know there'll be a 4th game, so I'm really excited to find out what is going to happen. I was super frustrated at the end of the game because it really does sort of... it blatantly ends on a cliffhanger, and that's really frustrating if you played the first 2 games and you want to know what's gonna happen. So it was really frustrating in that way. Yeah, definitely. And I think the only reason why it's not my number 1 is because there weren't enough boss fights for me in the game. And what I liked about Human Revolution was all the different boss fights that you had, and each boss fight was very different and very challenging, and it didn't really have that. It didn't really have that boss that felt threatening, you know, and it lacked that. So I hope it will have more boss fights in the sequel. I'm sure it will do. But yeah, Eidos Montreal did a fantastic job. Right, finally, number 1, the best game, the game of the year for me, without a doubt, unquestionably. Oh my god. That was pretty cool. Uncharted 4: A Thief's End by Naughty Dog, which came out on May 10th. This game, in my opinion, is a masterpiece. It is a beautiful game. It's the final game in Nathan Drake's saga, and it did justice to our main hero. It was such a fantastic send-off for Nathan Drake. The story was so good. The characters were fabulous. Seeing how they've grown and ultimately what happened to Nathan Drake and how he ultimately gets his happy ending and everything happens. The gameplay was fabulous as well. The set pieces were equally as exciting and amazing and jaw-dropping as they always are. But there were, you know, this game was just polished even further. The original Uncharted series is a fantastic series, and if you haven't played them, definitely go and pick up that remastered edition, because they're heavily worth it. If you own a PlayStation 4 and you do not own these games, you are doing yourself an injustice. I think any owner of the PlayStation 4 should own Uncharted 1, 2, 3 and 4. They just should, because it's just such a fabulous series. The characters are great. Nathan Drake, I'm sad to see Nathan Drake go, and I think that's why this was my number 1 game this year, because it really hit me emotionally. And as I was playing this game, there was such a feeling of like bittersweetness as you were playing it, and not many games did that this year. Not many games just swept me up in the moment and tugged at my heartstrings the way that Uncharted 4 A Thief's End did, and it heavily did justice to Nathan Drake, and even like the extra things to do with stealth and game, just brilliant. So yeah, Uncharted 4 A Thief's End without a doubt was my game of the year this year. So that is my top 10. Hope you guys enjoyed it anyway. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. What would be in your top 10 games of 2016? I will be back later on this week with I've got 2 more videos planned. My next video is going to be talking about the most disappointing games of 2016, and then the final video will talk about those games that I am super hyped for and are highly anticipated for 2017. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button as always to show your support. Please share the video as well to get it more out there, so YouTube starts plugging it. But anyway, hope you guys are having a great first week in 2017, and yeah, take care, and as always, happy gaming.